You are not the smartest human who has ever lived, not even close, at least not if you measure the actual thing doing the thinking. Right now, inside your skull there is a brain, and it is smaller physically, measurably smaller than the brain of a human who hunted and gathered 12,000 years ago. We're not talking a rounding error. We're talking about a chunk roughly the size of a tennis ball gone. This isn't a guess, it isn't a glitch, it isn't a few odd skulls in one museum. Scientists have measured it skull after skull after skull, and the trend doesn't budge. Somewhere in the last 20,000 years the human brain started shrinking, and it happened to your ancestors, which means it happened to you. By the end of this, you'll know exactly three things: how much we actually lost, the genuinely strange reason it happened, and it's not what you think, and why losing all that brain might be the smartest move our species ever made. Stay with me, because this rewires how you think about being human. Let's start with the number, because the number is bigger than people expect. The average brain of a hunter-gatherer 12,000 years ago measured around 1,500 cubic centimeters. The average brain today? Closer to 1,350, that's a drop of roughly 10%. Scoop a tennis ball of living tissue out of your head, that's about what we've lost since the last ice age. And it's not just one dusty skull in a case. Anthropologists have measured thousands of them across every populated continent, and the pattern holds everywhere. Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, every branch of humanity quietly shed brain at the same time. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the truly strange part isn't how much we lost, it's when. You'd assume the brain shrank slowly, evenly over millions of years. It didn't. The shrinking sped up dramatically right around the moment our ancestors stopped wandering and started farming. About 10,000 years ago, the exact same window where we built villages, invented writing, stacked up cities, created everything we'd call civilization. Think about that for a second. The smarter our world got, the smaller our brains got. As life got easier, more food, more safety, more help, the organ inside our heads got lighter. Which raises a genuinely disturbing question. Does comfort shrink the brain? Did building a soft, safe world quietly cost us the very thing that built it? The answer is stranger than yes or no, and to understand it you have to look at a dog. Take a wolf, now take a golden retriever. Same rough animal, split apart by thousands of years. The retriever is friendlier, calmer, more tolerant, and its brain is around 25% smaller than its wild ancestors. This isn't unique to dogs. Cows, pigs, horses, even foxes bred to be tame. Every single domesticated animal ends up with a smaller brain than its wild cousin. Tameness and a shrinking skull come as a package deal. Now here's the part that should give you chills. Researchers think the same thing happened to us, not by a farmer's hand, by our own. We domesticated ourselves. Over thousands of years, the humans who survived and thrived weren't the strongest or the most aggressive. They were the ones who could live shoulder to shoulder with strangers without killing each other. The cooperative ones, the calm ones, the friendly ones. We bred ourselves generation after generation for tolerance, and we got the exact same package every tame animal gets: softer faces, smaller teeth, and a smaller brain. You are, in the most literal biological sense, a domesticated animal. You're the golden retriever, and your wild ancestor, he had a bigger brain than you. So that settles it, right? We got comfortable, we got tame, we got dumber. No, this isn't about getting dumber, this isn't about going soft. This is about the single most powerful trick our species ever pulled, and it's the reason your brain could afford to shrink in the first place. Picture an ancient hunter 12,000 years ago. Inside that one skull was everything. Hundreds of plants which heal you, which kill you. The migration paths of a dozen animals. How to read a sky, track a wound, nap a blade, find water in a place that looks like death. The Hadza hunter-gatherers still living in Tanzania today carry an entire encyclopedia in their heads because there is nowhere else to keep it. There were no hospitals, no supermarkets, no search bar to save you. If you forgot which root was poison, the forest killed you. Now look at you. How many wild plants can you name that are safe to eat? How do you start a fire with no lighter? Where does your water actually come from? You don't know, and you don't have to. Because you outsourced it, all of it. You don't store survival in your skull anymore, you store it in the group, in books, in your phone, in the 10,000 strangers who grow your food, build your house, and keep the lights on while you sleep. No single human needs to hold all of human knowledge anymore because we hold it together. That's the trade. The ancient brain was a whole library crammed into one head. Yours is a single terminal plugged into a network of billions, and a terminal doesn't need to be enormous. It needs to be fast and it needs to be connected. We didn't lose intelligence, we spread it out. We took 1,000 brilliant, lonely brains and wired them into one enormous shared mind and shrank the hardware because the hardware no longer had to carry the whole world alone. So here's the truth that started all of this. You are not the smartest human who has ever lived. The hunter-gatherer with the tennis ball of extra brain could outsurvive you in the wild without blinking. But you were never built to do it alone. That bigger brain belonged to a human who had to be a one-person species. Yours belongs to something far stranger and far more powerful, a single node in the largest, smartest mind that has ever existed on this planet. That's not weakness, that's how we won. So would you take the trade? A bigger brain but you stand alone in the wild, or the brain you've got plugged into all of us? Tell me below. And if this rewired the way you see the thing between your ears, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.